What's up, guys? Jeff here from Worldwide Cyclery. Gonna talk about SRAM Eagle, the pros, the cons, and some other cool things that are involved when you upgrade to Eagle. So, kind of want to just go over: is it worth it? We get that question a lot. People kind of wondering, hey, it's expensive, looks amazing, and like jewelry rather than bike parts. So people kind of wonder: is it worth the money? Is it right for them? Is it going to make their ride that much better? And like a lot of things with bikes, and a lot of stuff that I say is that it depends on you. It kind of depends on how you ride, where you ride, your preferences, what you're doing, your budget. But I mean, they do have credit cards too, so I don't really need that much money. The cassette. This is probably the biggest part of Eagle, right? So 500% gear range. What does that mean? It means you have a whole lot of easy and a whole lot of hard. So basically, nearly the amount of gear range you had when you had 3x8 back in those days, if anyone remembers that. A ton of range. So your smallest is a 10, your largest is a 50 tooth cog. So massive amount of range. The cool thing about having that much range is, depending on your fitness level, it might be amazing to have this giant big gear up here. Also, depending on where you ride. I ride in Southern California a ton. It's where I live, and there's some insanely steep climbs out here. There is in plenty of places throughout the world and the country. Some places are not so steep, and there's a lot less elevation. Maybe if you're out in Kansas or something. My grandpa's from Kansas. He used to tell me that the coolest thing about Kansas is you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. So judging by that joke, I don't think there's many mountains there, so Eagle might not be your choice if you're a Kansas man or woman. So back to the cassette, that range, again, if you're an average rider, you're not in crazy good shape, you might really, really love having this huge gear range. It is a massive, easy gear here. A lot of people are running a 32 tooth chainring with it. I think that's what this bike is set up with right here. So when you have a 32 up there and you're in a 50 in the back, that is a crazy easy gear. So when you're dead tired because you just did a 40-mile ride, or you're dead tired because you drink six packs more often than you ride your bike, that can really benefit you then as well. So all I can say is we've sold a lot of Eagle kits since they've come out. They come on a whole bunch of the bikes that we sell. All of our demo bikes have Eagle. I think every single one now. Except for a few that have Shimano drivetrains, and everyone absolutely loves it. So, I think there's very few people that don't ride Eagle now. A lot of the reason they love it, again, that huge gear range is awesome. It shifts amazing, but kind of any nice drivetrain properly set up has shifted amazing for like the last 5 years. It shifts incredibly well. It has that huge range, so when you get tired, or when you're on that crazy long ride, or when you're on that crazy steep climb, you have that gear range. And when you're going super fast on a downhill or a fire road, you've got that 10, which is extremely small. So having that 500% range is awesome, and I can't say enough good things about that and how many people just absolutely love it. If you want to talk about cons to it, people who might not want to run Eagle, one downside: the derailleur is quite massive. So in order to have that big range, you've got quite a long cage on that derailleur, which can be a bit of a clearance thing, nicking it on rocks and stuff. We haven't seen much of that. I don't think I've actually seen any of them broken yet, but they get scratches on them here and there. Now that basically everyone's riding 27.5 and 29, derailleurs in general are higher off the ground. So back in the 26-inch days, that was kind of more of an issue of this getting hit by rocks. Not so much anymore. But that's one thing, if you're on the Enduro World Circuit and you slam your derailleur into rocks and ride in ruts that look like motocross track ruts, then maybe that might be something you'd consider, is, the annoyance of that big, long derailleur cage. The other con to it, it's obviously a smidge heavier than, comparing it to SRAM's 1x11 systems or even Shimano's 1x11 systems. And maybe you don't need that gear range. I personally, as much as I said I love Eagle and heard a lot of good things about it and ride demo bikes with it all the time, I don't actually run it on my own bike. And a lot of the reason is because I don't do these crazy long rides. I'm usually only riding for like an hour or two at a time. And I'm in pretty good shape. Not toot my own horn, but I ride a lot. I used to race a ton, so I feel comfortable. I've never really felt like, my God, my legs are burning and I need to walk my bike, or I'm just dead tired on this ride. So I kind of like that, 1x11, that smaller cassette, the smaller derailleur. It's nice, but on occasion I do go on these epic rides out in, if you've ever ridden Mount Wilson in the Southern California area, there's some insanely steep climbs, and we'll get out there for like a 6-hour journey, and those are the times where I'm kicking myself thinking I would really like to have Eagle right now. But most of my riding I don't, so on the current bike I'm riding, at least right now, you might see me with it on my next bike, but so depends on the person. Like I said, by far and away, landslide, a fan favorite. Everyone that's ridden on a demo bike, people come back here after riding a demo bike that have never tried Eagle before, and they're just over the moon. Like sometimes they are riding some fairly old bike and they go ride a brand new Yeti SP5, SP4.5, and they come back and the first thing they say is, I loved Eagle in the gear range. They don't even mention how incredibly much better the bike was than the old piece of garbage they've been riding. So it is pretty funny in those situations, but a lot of it does have to do with that gear range, which is awesome. You don't necessarily have to run SRAM's cranks or their chainring. You just need the shifter, the derailleur, the cassette, and the chain. A lot of spikes will be spec'd with it, so you'll see that right there. This Yeti is a stock build from Yeti, so it's got the Eagle chainring, the cranks, the whole grupo per se. You don't necessarily need to use their chainring or their cranks as much as they'd like you to. So if you're a fan of race face cranks, which I am myself, or Wolf 2 chainrings, those work just fine with the Eagle drivetrain. Obviously price plays a factor here. XX1 is seriously expensive. XO1 is still seriously expensive. Eagle GX, which is just released as of this making of this video, is a hell of a lot cheaper and is awesome, and has been a way to get it on a lot more bikes, this big gear range on a lot more bikes that without having to break the bank and spend a ridiculous amount of money on your drivetrain, in case you break it a lot or you just don't feel like investing that money on your bike, whatever. So the investments there, that's part of it. But honestly, the amount of smiles I've seen of people who have, ridden bikes with Eagle for the first time, guys have come back here and just been, eyes wide open, like absolutely loved Eagle. Like it shifted amazing. The gear range was incredible. I was clearing climbs I could never clear before because I was just bonked out tired by the time I got to, XYZ technical section on this trail. It's been such a fan favorite among so many riders that I recommend it. I think you'll love it, and just consider yourself too. If you haven't eaten a carb since 2009, then maybe you don't need a 500% gear range, or maybe you're the guy like some of those top XC World Cup racers who are running Eagle with a 38-tooth chainring, so they can go 55 miles an hour and also still climb everything because they're World Cup athletes. So that's another option, if you're doing crazy enduro races and you're in shape and you just want that 500% gear range, but you don't really need to go to this, small chainring, big one in the back. You can run a larger chainring up front, and then you've got a super crazy high-end gear, maybe where you ride, there's some big, fast fire roads, and you want to be able to go that fast and having a really hard gear. So that kind of sums it up. It's amazing. I think everyone I've talked to has loved it, that's ridden it. It's another one of those things that you probably at this point have a buddy who's got it, or you can go to a shop and demo a bike with it and see for yourself how well it shifts and how awesome it is to have this big of a gear range and still just have one single shifter on your right hand. So pretty phenomenal. Personal preference, yeah, but still try it. I think you'll love it. It's been a fan favorite, and that's about it.